Coaches, you are going to hear some amazing wisdom today. I'm going to introduce Robyn Fralick. Many of you know her, I'm sure, but I know Robyn back from her days at Ashland when she was an assistant coaching with the great legendary Sue Ramsey. Robyn was an assistant there. Now she's a mom, a wife, and a mom, husband Tim, and daughter Clara, and son Will. At Ashland, Robyn had two national championships, one as an assistant coach and one as a head coach, and ended with a 104-3 record. Coaches, you're going to hear so much greatness today. At Bowling Green, 3 postseason appearances, and finished with the most wins in MAC history with 31 wins in her last season there. And now at Michigan State, NCAA tournament in her first season and the second round of the NCAA tournament with 22 wins. But most of all, folks, Robyn's character, and that's what you're going to hear as well today. And she won the C. Vivian Stringer Award, which is given to the coach with a high standard of propriety, imagination, and innovation as a character builder in the tradition of great teacher coaches. Robyn, we are so thankful you are here, and we're excited to hear from you. So take it away.
Thanks, Kelly. Good morning. Appreciate everybody signing on this morning to learn a little bit about basketball. Yeah, I really appreciate this clinic and what you guys do for coaches. I'm going to start a little bit today talking about some things to think about as you head into season from a personal perspective, some plans I think to build around as a coach. And then I'm going to talk about our defensive system and some of the things that we do into building that and things we consider when building that. So to start, I think as you head into a year in coaching, I believe healthy leader, healthy team. And so what are the things you're doing as a leader to keep yourself in a space of being healthy? And I think you have to have a plan for that. The pressure, the season, I always say my cortisol levels are higher than ever. So what are you doing in consideration of that? There's some things that I think that have helped me that I know that I have to build in and heading into a season. One is health. Like, what is your workout? What does your sleep look like? Nutrition. What kind of boundaries are you setting around your family time, around film, around phone calls, and I think that's hard to do, but what I have found is that when I have a good plan around healthy boundaries with that, it's very helpful. Humor. So from something I learned about myself as I would go through a season, is I would find that I would just laugh less. I'd find less things funny. I think the more you're living in some level of stress, the harder it is to laugh. So I actually have built in, there's some comedians that I love that I listen to consistently, especially when we're traveling and on road trips. And I found that that's been a really healthy thing to continue laughing. Prayer, faith, making sure that remains an important part of your day, building that in. Learning. I love curiosity throughout a year. I think sometimes we can get so into the nuances of our season, of our scouts, but continuing to learn and see, I love that our game is so creative. And something I'll talk about is the way we've played has changed over the different places that I've been. And I think there's such a creativity to our game, and so much has been learned about what's effective. And I'm going to share this with some of our defensive things, but even if you look at the NBA from this past season, the 2 teams in the finals kind of totally changed the defensive philosophy. They pressured, just things we haven't seen at the NBA level consistently. And they were, the 2 teams playing in the finals. So remaining on the creative side of the game and paying attention to that. Creating the right mindset of your team. That's created through your mindset. I think keeping them in a healthy space, something I've discovered with 18 to 22, 18 to 24-year-olds, you have to really help them learn how to navigate stress, pressure. Every level I've gone up, especially I've seen the pressure and the kind of the platform and the light on them has been brighter, and helping them stay in healthy spaces. Something else I love is I think throughout season and heading into season, as a coach, as a leader, as much as you can engage yourself in competitive situations. For me, a hobby that I love to golf. I'm just okay at it, but I think it's really fun to try to get better at. And what I try to do is keep myself in it in some level of competitiveness, like what it feels like to stand over an 8-foot putt to win the match, right? Or my staff will do different like scrambles or different competitions with that. But just keeping yourself attached to the feeling of like how hard it is to perform under pressure, so that you can have an empathy and a connection in that with your players, whatever that looks like for you. I had a really cool conversation the other day, and I thought about this, that the more you are challenged, right? The higher the challenge, the higher the stress, the higher the pressure, the higher the situation, the more your character is challenged, right? The more the level of your character is important. And I thought about like that was very convicting for me. Like we have to really work hard at putting our character, remaining that in a spot you feel good about, because as the challenge rises, um, that part of us becomes more important, and it becomes more vulnerable. So just some things to think about as you head into season. I know we have our first exhibition game next Wednesday. I was looking ahead at our calendar for this week, and I'm like, oh man, the games are coming fast. So I would really encourage you to just build a plan out for how you're going to keep yourself as a healthy leader, as a learning leader, and just having a mindset that you feel like helps you and helps your team, as you navigate through the course of a year. So I'm going to talk about defense. So something that has been pretty consistent through my years of coaching. I was a Division II head coach for 3 seasons. I was a mid-major coach for 5, and I'm going into my 3rd season here at Michigan State. And everywhere we've been, we've adjusted, according to our personnel, according to how to be effective, right? Ultimately, we're trying to figure out how to win, how to be effective in the league we're in. But every level we've been at, we have had a disruptive, aggressive defensive style of play. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we build that out. I'm going to show some film too, so I think that can be helpful. Some stats from last season. So our first year at Michigan State, we set the school record for scoring and 3-pointers made in a season. Our second year at Michigan State, we set the school record for steals. My team at Michigan State, my second year, definitely a much better defensive team than offensive team. My first year, we were a better offensive team. So I also just encourage you to see what you're good at and do more of that. Last year, we actually amped up our defensive pressure because we felt like that was one of the biggest strengths of our team, was our perimeter defense. Last year, Michigan State nationally, just some stats I'm going to share as I lead into talking about how we play. We are 12th in the country in steals per game, 16th in blocks, 18th in turnover margin, 12th in turnovers forced, and 15th in blob, points per possession defense, which I'll talk a little bit about because we actually changed what we did last season. And we had 4 of the top 11 players in the league for steals per game. So definitely built this pressure as a unit. Some things to think about when you are building a defensive blueprint. 1, pressure is built from the inside out. So it has to be in every layer of how you build. So start with how you guard in the post, right? To me, that dictates how you're going to guard everywhere else. So start with how you're going to guard in the post. For us, we're typically hard 3-quartering or fronting, according a little bit depending on our post matchups. But we're hard 3-quartering or we're fronting. That impacts your help from the backside, right? Obviously, if we're fronting, our backside help has to be a little bit more, and our ball pressure has to be greater. Decipher your help mentality, right? What's your help gonna look like in your gaps? For us in our gaps, we're real aggressive. We're typically up the line. We tell our team, our phrase we use is attack the ball. Like we're never just bluffing and getting out. Like we want to go after the basketball. We have found, at least in the women's game, there typically aren't 5 good passers on the court. There might be 1 or 2. If we identify somebody as a poor passer, we're going to be way more aggressive on them too in gaps. because we want to make them have to make decisions with the ball. Our job in a gap is to disrupt the ball handler and disrupt their rhythm. So we're going to be aggressive in gaps and attack the ball. Backside help, I talked about that. You definitely have to have a plan for backside help, but for me, that's completely dictated too by how you're guarding in the post. And then ball side help, right? It's interesting in the NBA, there's actually the OKC like would help ball side corner, which was pretty unheard of because corner threes are obviously valuable and a high percentage shot. But just having a plan, are you going to help ball side? Are you going to stay home ball side? Whatever that looks like, you got to have a plan for it and get good at it. Ball screen coverages. For us, we hedge a lot. We go over the screen. Our on-ball defender, we go over the screen under the hedge. Our post job in a hedge is to also disrupt the ball. We always say if we're going to put two people on the ball, which you do when you hedge ball screens, you have to disrupt the ball, right? No straight line passes. We tell our post to really attack the ball off the hedge with their outside hand, attack the ball handler. We want to make the ball handler pick the ball up, and we don't want to give any direct line passes out of the ball screen. Something important for us in ball screen cover is when our post leaves, right? They have to sprint out. The term language we use is big hands, big voice. And our on-ball defender has to do a great job repressuring the ball once the hedge leaves, and our gaps need to reposition. A phrase we use all the time in our program is reposition with effort, fill the court with defense. We want to be long, athletic. We don't want there to ever look like there's a lot of space to attack from a visual perspective. And then obviously from a physical perspective, we want to fill space, right? Good offense creates space. Good defense takes away space. So we're always trying to find ways to minimize space. In our ball screen coverage, we'll guard outside third and middle third ball screens different. Obviously, game to game, we have to be smart and make adjustments. A lot of times the middle ball screens, we will not hedge as often. One thing we have found is we feel like anytime there's a really good scorer, they like hedging the least. I see that in the NBA as well. If you look at like a Jason Tatum, he's hedged a lot. He is way more of a scorer. He's looking to score off ball screen. So if we see a player has a real propensity for coming off a ball screen, wanting to score off the ball screen, we find that hedging is one of the most effective ways to bother them. We'll also do that with our guards. Like we don't just hedge with our posts. Sometimes if there's a guard to guard action and we want to keep our matchups a certain way, we'll hedge that. We'll hedge it guard to guard and just try to disrupt and force the ball high and wide. Anytime we're in a ball screen cover and we are hedging, some terms we use and some visuals we use is we want to load to the ball and shrink the court. So if we're going to put two on the ball, off the ball, they know we need to load off the ball and shrink the court on that backside, which for us, those have been good terms. I think those have been good visuals for our team understanding what that looks like when a hedge is happening. My husband was a high school coach. My father-in-law has been a high school coach for 50 years. He actually just got inducted in the BCAM Hall of Fame. He's still coaching high school basketball. He's 76, so just incredible. So I've been around like a lot of different levels. And one of the things that I learned when I became a Division II head coach was I learned pace from my husband because he was a high school coach without a shot clock. And so one of the things that he did is he created pace from a defensive and offensive perspective. And as you know, if there's no shot clock, you don't want to shoot fast and then play a minute of defense, right? You don't want to play in a lopsided time of possession game. So they would create pace through both offense and defense, which we really took to that when I was at Ashland, creating pace on both sides of the ball. A lot of teams say they play fast, but really, there has to be, in our opinion, there has to be a streamlined style play to create pace, to create an overall pace of the game. So we believe that we're able to do that through our offense and through our defense, create pace. So our full court pressure defense, whatever level I've been at, we have full court pressed. I've been challenged at every level I've gone to that. Oh, you could do that at D2, but can you do that at D1? You can do that at mid-major, but can you do that at Power 4? And I think you can do what you want to do if you teach it and you do it all the time. And so I think that's something that we've learned, is that we've stuck with our system. We found success with it at a lot of different levels, but we have adjusted according to what we think will be successful. So for us, our full court pressure, we have multiple full court pressure defenses. Now, we don't full court press the whole game, but we do mix it in and put it in depending on who we're playing, will be what we do and how much of it we do. But we have multiple full court pressure defenses, and we really evaluate going into a game. It depends on when we go to press, we're really evaluating, is this a team that we want to dribble, or is this a team that we want to make pass? Because there's certain teams that can just destroy your press with really good passing. And there's certain teams that are going to try to destroy your press with just, maybe an electric ball handler. And so we start there. Okay, so what kind of press we're going to do? Obviously, if it's a team that's a really good passing team to beat a press, we're going to do much more of our man-to-man matchup and make them have to handle the ball to beat the press. If it's a team that's really going to try to dribble to beat the press, we're going to do a lot more zone pressing and try to get them, and more trapping to get the ball out of their hands and not make them comfortable passing the ball. So those are some of the considerations we have going into what we're going to do. We will trap right away. So we have multiple presses, and we'll change it throughout the game. And I think that's one of the things, when I think of our team last season, I think one of the things that was effective was we just gave different looks of the press. And what we found was a lot of our success came at second half or midway through that fourth quarter, where suddenly there would just be a breakthrough, right? We would wear a team out, or we would change the press up, and all of a sudden we would get them out of rhythm and be able to create some momentum with that. So we can trap right away. We can do that with our man press. We can do that with our zone press. We can delay trap, which is where we'll try to trap more around half court, or even later, like we'll shrink the court. If we know it's a really good passing team, we want to shrink the court. So we'll delay trap in that half court, whether it's around half court or even later. We'll sometimes just stay in the trap and try to trap them like on our own baseline. And whatever they're better at, we try to do the opposite. So I know I shared, but you have to evaluate, are they a team that's going to try to break it with the pass or with the dribble? Trapping rules. So 2 trappers. Okay, in our traps, we always say no splits, no fouls. We don't want to let anybody split it, and we do not want to foul in the trap. So 2 trappers, 2 gappers, they're 1 pass away, so they've got to be up the line to 9, and then 1 goalie, and our goalie has 2. And we always say if it's a good trap, right, it's hard to throw a skip pass. Like, it's hard to throw a 2 pass away pass. So we got to do a really good job in our ball pressure. Ideally, we're trapping in the outside third, whether that's in the full court or in the half court. There's occasionally where we will trap in the middle of the court, and I give a lot of autonomy to our players, and they know the mentality that we have when building our press is, when in doubt, be aggressive. So I always say, if you go. Like, we never want to go and then stop, because the whole package of pressure is dictated by the trap, right? When the trap happens, the backside has to move accordingly. So we never want to be in indecision around that. It's a mentality. Like, we're okay. Like, if we're aggressive and they score, it's okay. Like, we're going to keep coming at you. You have to have this mentality of relentlessness and understanding that it's not about a possession, but it's about, over the course of a 40-minute game, how does this wear and tear on a team, and are we able to sustain pressure at a high level? And, to do it well, to really do it well, the pressure well, 5 people have to be committed to it for 40 minutes. If you're doing it the whole time, right? There has to be this commitment. And if we're pressing in the full court, something we work hard on is, if they break the press, which is fine, that happens. We always say our goal isn't to steal the ball. That's just a byproduct, right, of sustained pressure. Our goal is to make them uncomfortable and wear them out. But if we're going to pressure in the full court, we make a big deal that when the ball gets into the half court, the pressure has to sustain. So we can't get in the half court and then relax and give up an easy shot just because they, beat the press. So it's this, we've got to be able to transition it from the full court into the half court. Try to avoid trapping in the middle, but occasionally can be effective. As I shared, when in doubt, be aggressive. Must move together in the trap. I think that's something that takes time. The backside moving at the same pace as the trap is really, really important. So we don't want to have a great trap and then they have an easy one pass pressure release, right? We have to do that together. And what you'll find too is the more you do this, the kids who are working really hard on the ball and really hard to trap, if there is just an easy release pass, they start to get frustrated with each other. And I like that. Like I always think peer-to-peer cohort, right? Being able to connect those emotions together. Like, hey, we're working our butts off up here. You got to do your job too. Other important parts, right? So first rebound, okay? The court's wider when you're willing to press, whether that's full court or half court. That first shot goes up. You have to be able to rotational rebound. You have to be able to get rebounds when you're not all matched up, when you're in different spaces. That is really important. It's very deflating to work really hard, make them take a bad early shot, and then give up a putback. The other part is when they create advantage, let's say out of the press, they're in a 3-on-2, they're in a 2-on-1, will absolutely happen. No fouls. Okay, we don't want to slow the game down. We don't want to stop the game. If they score off a 2-on-1, okay, we're getting that ball out and we're coming right back at you, but we do not want to slow the game down with fouling in those situations. Our goals of the press, okay, 1, wear teams out. Number 2, make non-primary ball handlers initiate offense, right? Make them have to play out of system. One of the things that we have found is it's not something people go against a lot. So I think it's hard to just prepare for in a day or two of learning, hey, today she's going to initiate offense, right? Or these are the shots we're looking for. So make non-primary ball handlers initiate offense, have them take out of system shots, speed teams up where they play a style that they are not used to. Must sustain, I shared this earlier, but we must sustain pressure in the half court. If they break the press, work on keeping the same aggressive mentality. Same thing I shared earlier when building pressure, right? You start from the inside out. So if we're going to press, right, they break the press, we're going to get aggressive still in our half court defense. We want to have really good disruptive on-ball pressure. We're going to be aggressive in our gaps. We hedge a lot of ball screens. And so that's super important too. We talk with our posts a lot. They can't all of a sudden just play behind and be a pressure release, right? If we're going to build all of these pressures, we can't let them just be able to throw the ball inside after everybody's worked really hard on the perimeter. So we make a big deal too about our posts fighting the pass and not being a pressure release. Same thing with elbow entries, right? We don't want to let people just comfortably catch the ball at the elbow. The elbow, as we know, is a popular place to initiate offense, whether there's like split screens, chin, right? That is the ball in the middle of the court. That's a much harder place to guard. So we really want to fight the pass. So that is something we work on a lot with our post players, is them understanding the aggressive mentality too, to keep the ball out of the post. Another thing we like to do, and I'm going to show some film where I'll be able to talk through a lot of these things I've mentioned today, but we'll hedge handoffs that they're used like ball screens. Zoom is obviously a really popular offensive action. That's an action. We'll hedge that a lot. Anything where people are using handoffs to get downhill, we see that as an opportunity to try to force the ball high and wide. Now, I know people can fake handoffs, things like that, but that doesn't change our help principles. And anything we can do where they aren't running, they're having to counter what they normally run, we like that. We feel like they're trying to do things that are a little bit different than how they like to execute. One thing I thought about this last season is we talk a lot about getting hot, right? There's like shooters can get hot. People can get, like, there's games where you can tell people are really in the flow. We talk in our program about you can get hot in defense, right? I've seen players, we had 3 kids last year in the top 10 of our league in steals, and they would have like series, right? There'd be weeks where they would be hot on defense. They'd get extra aggressive. They'd be super anticipatory off the ball. So we love that. We talk about that. We get excited about that in our program too. Like, yeah, we can get hot. We can knock in a couple threes, right? I've seen shooters get hot. You can get hot on defense, and we want to have a mentality around that. We've also found the more versatile defenders we have. We love that. We talk about that a lot in recruiting. A lot of what you could play is who you can guard. Obviously, versatility is on the offensive end. We also see it just as relevant on the defensive end of the basketball, right? The more versatile defenders you have, the more aggressive you can guard, because the less you have to worry about matchups, right? In an ideal pressure system, you would never worry about matchups. We would just say being matched up is more important than your matchup. That means there's a lot of confidence that we have a lot of defenders who can guard all different kinds of players. And the more versatile you are, the more creative we can get. We can hedge aggressive. We can switch aggressive. We love that. Now we're trying to create that. You know, we do that with our practices, with our player development, but we're trying to create more and more versatility in our players so they're more confident. We don't want to have to protect matchups, right? Ideally, we're trusting that who they get matched up on as a unit, we're going to be able to continue to pressure. Something we did too this year, we streamlined our baseline out of bounds defense. We are meeting as a staff. We're going through blobs, and I just found that I would get frustrated, like, because game to game, we would adjust how we were guarding, right? We might cut this down screen, but the next game, we're switching it, and we're going to switch this back screen. But game to game, we were adjusting how we were guarding, and I was finding that our team was having a hard time remembering it, and I was getting frustrated because it's like you don't want to give up those points, right? In a game, you want to win that margin. So we investigated into like who had the best baseline out of bounds defenses. One of the teams that on the men's side was Auburn, and so what they do is they put a really good athlete on the ball, and they would aggressively switch everything for that possession. Now, I think there's times where we won't always switch with our five. You know, we will make some adjustments on that. But we changed actually last year early in our season where we put a good athlete on the ball. We switched aggressively on everything. So it was more of the way we play, right? I thought it was more of a streamline of how we guard as well. And it made a big difference. We went from giving up a little over 0.8 something points per possession on blobs to 0.6. So for us, that was a pretty significant difference. Something that I would encourage, you know, even sideline out of bounds, just encourage you to find ways. My brain works with like anything that's disruptive. I like anything that's aggressive. I like anything that gets people out of system is something that for me really makes sense. And, you know, for us, that was a good thing. The last thing I'll share before I show some film that I can talk through is you have to be in great shape. And you have to have a mentality around that, like to really pressure and sustain it and do it, not sloppy, but real, consistent, sustained pressure. You got to be in great shape. So having your team have a mentality around how awesome it is to be fit for fitness to be at a high level. All right, I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to show some of our defensive clips and talk through a few of the things that I just mentioned.
That Michigan State immediately.
Turn the sound off. Okay, so this is a press where let me see if I can put this away. Where we are pressing, trapping right away. Our on-ball defender, your on-ball presser has to be one of your best athletes, best trappers. And right here, we don't get it right away, but we teach our kids to stay with it, right? So we come back here, get back in front of the ball, high hands, hunt down from the backside, remain in it. Does a great job. We talk a lot about making a play on the ball, right? We don't want to just wave our hands in the air. We are big on attacking the ball. Grab the ball, and then we're going to go. Okay, right here, we don't want the ball in the middle. Okay, but she gets the ball in the middle, fast guard. Our on-ball defender and our opposite do a great job sprinting down the ball. I think one thing you can see here too is we speed up the other team, right? We're making them play at a speed they're not comfortable with. We hunt down the ball from the backside, and then we work a lot on conversion. So the minute we get that ball off a steal, everybody's got to have a pace to get in. We want to be able to play out of advantage basketball. Okay, right here we get a trap, and then my backside does a great job. So we talked about, yeah, the trap is important, but as important as the backside moving also as aggressively as the trap. Backside post comes out right here. We trap right away. We are in man-to-man. We get an immediate trap and turn that into points. Our blob defense I was talking about. So we put a tall, good athlete on the ball. You can see right here, I mean, they have a big 5. We have a guard on it. That's okay. We just work really hard at denying, see the ball. We switch, connect it, right? We want to, because obviously people try to slip a lot, back screen, whatever that looks like. We have to switch, connect it, and get back in front. Right here, they're definitely trying to take advantage of the mismatch. We make a play on the ball. Obviously, important possession here, converted into points. Same thing, our blob defense. One thing I hope that we're doing a good job of here in this clip is we see the ball. So that's something we talk a lot about too, is like, if we're going to switch, you have to see the ball to steal the ball. So we make a big deal about guard the ball. Guard the ball, see your man, but guard the ball. Great job on the ball, deflecting it, turn it into points. Same with our sidelines. So good athlete here on the ball. We're all up the line denying, not letting them execute, get the ball back. In our league, Juju is a very good scorer, probably best scorer in the league. We knew that going into the game. As I shared early, I think hedging good scores is very, very effective because they would prefer to try to score than to pass out of it. Right here, we have a really good hedge, spin around a little bit, turn it into a steal. This is one of those split screen zoom actions I shared earlier that if people use handoffs like ball screens, you know, trying to get a downhill driver, that is something that we will hedge. We're a little late here. Like right here, I'd want my 5 to be a little bit higher on the ball, but still does a great job. Makes a play, right? We always talk about their outside hand being aggressive, kind of making a play on that ball with our outside post hand, makes a play on it. First to the ground, turn steals into points. Okay, same idea right here. We like the visual when we're hedging, like you're like a jack in the box, right? Boom, kind of popping out. Definitely trying to be disruptive, make the ball handler uncomfortable. Turn that into points. Aggressive in gaps. That was one of the first things I said, like, what's your gap defense? What's your help defense? What's your post defense? For us, we're going to be aggressive in gaps. Same idea, attack the ball, swarm the ball. And then make sure, another thing is it's one thing to tip it, but we want to win the ball. So we do a good job winning the ball there, turning it into points. Here, passing lane, right? We do a great job. We had a really slow start to this game. We got a few steals, got us right back in it, got us some momentum, but does a great job being anticipatory in the passing lane. This is just relentless ball pressure. This is a great example of getting a steal as a unit. Okay, so we have great on-ball pressure here. Same thing, first to the floor and convert that into advantage basketball. Here, relentless on-ball pressure. We're in man-to-man pressure. We're just really trying to make it hard, work the ball. We stay together here, moved off the ball in our gaps. Once again, remain relentless ball pressure, right? Making it a really hard catch. We build that steal together. Really good on ball pressure. Great job in the passing lane, right? Pressure is built as a unit. Really good example of that here. End of shot clock. On ball pressure. We do a great job off the ball here, seeing that the ball handler is uncomfortable, As I shared, our team motto is when in doubt, be aggressive. We get aggressive on the ball here. Get a turnover together. So those are some good examples. Hopefully you can see that a lot of our ball pressure is built as a unit. And when we do it right, it helps us create advantage basketball. Am I out of time, Barclay?
Unfortunately, coach, that is amazing. You are an outstanding teacher. I'm getting text on my phone. Wow, she is an amazing teacher. Coaches, I hope you took notes. You just can't get that anywhere. That is an incredible 30 minutes. Just to recap, uh, I, I love this. Healthy leaders lead to a healthy team. I love boundaries, humor, prayer, learning, stay creative, right mindset. And this is, coaches, this is outstanding. Remember how it feels to be competitive and to operate under pressure, because that gives us an empathy for our team as they're operating under pressure. And then the higher the stress, the higher the challenge. Um, uh, Adjusted, figure out how to win. As you went up levels, you figured out how to win. This is incredible, coaches. Pressure is built from the inside out. It all starts with how you're going to defend in the post. Coach, that's so true. Just quickly, coaches, if you missed some of these notes, a passing team, more of a man-to-man press. A good ball handling team, more of a zone press. Success with press is it's going to happen in the second half, and particularly in the fourth quarter. Whatever they're great at, press the opposite. Two trappers, two gappers, and a goalie. And then pressure goals, pressing goals, wear them out. Make their non-primary ball handlers make plays, speed teams up, non-practice shots, and then super important for pressing teams, you got to sustain that pressure in the second half. I mean, in the half court, at the half court level, to keep that pressure going. Coaches, do you have a strategic bet? Do you have something that you're pushing all the chips to the table, to the middle of the table? Do you have something that sets you apart? At Michigan State, they do. They are putting an extraordinary amount of time working on pressing that will give extraordinary results. If you don't have a strategic bet that sets your team apart, then you really need to be thinking about what you can do within your system that will make you difficult to play and will give you an advantage. It's hard. I coached a long time. It's hard to prepare for pressing teams in 2 days. And when you've played non-pressing teams 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 games, and now you're facing Michigan State, that's going to be difficult. So, Coach, I see why you've had, did I hear that right? 104-2, 104-3?
That's right. I should have retired.
My goodness, at Ashland, that's incredible. Coach, thank you. Thank you. I know how busy you are. I know the preparation and that you and your staff are doing each day for practice and engaged in recruiting. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your excellence. I can't wait to watch you guys play. And we all learned a lot. Coaches across the country learned a lot today, and you are an outstanding teacher. And your players are blessed to be at Michigan State. And so thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. Everybody, thanks for joining this morning, and best of luck. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Let's bring Coach Kennedy back on. Kelly is going to do our Nations of Coaches character moment. Kelly, take it away.
First of all, thank you, Robyn. You're a great teacher and a great leader. So thanks for joining us and filling up coaches today. Really appreciate it. I am humbled and honored to share with you today Defense. I'm going to continue kind of the theme with defense. Defense takes preparation, communication, discipline, and strategic planning. But we're going to focus on communication and particularly on verbal communication. I've got 5 minutes, so it's going to be, I got a lot to pack in here. But biblically, the spoken word is powerful. In Genesis, God started. I mean, how did the world get created, right? And then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. He spoke this into existence. Coaches, your words are powerful. I'm going to use the Bible to back up anything I'm sharing with you today because I don't have the wisdom. I get my wisdom from the Word. So here's what the Bible says about words. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. So your words have the power to help or the power to destruct. They could give life or they can bring death of a person's spirit. The Bible is also great in instruction on using your words. So how can I become better at giving life with my words? There's 3 verses I'm going to use. Proverbs. Kind words heal and help. Cutting words maim. I was with a coach last week, a very successful basketball player, played pro, is now a college basketball head coach. And we were just talking about the power of words. And she said, when she coaches, she's very cognizant of what she says to her players and how she says things. And I'm not saying you can't instruct and correct, but the how and maybe the words that you use. She said, now she was probably poured into, had many positive things said about her because of the success that she had. But the things that stick with her are the cutting words that a coach used with her. And she says it still bothers her. She still thinks about it today, some of those words. So coaches, just be cognizant. And the other thing is Thessalonians 5:11. We are instructed to encourage one another and build others up. And what I think you need to think about is your players, and I think you probably as well. I was talking with many coaches last week, and we don't know how to receive. It's hard to receive a compliment. So I'm gonna teach you at the end here a drill to help your players learn how to receive a compliment. They need to receive it and accept it into their spirit, the good and the positive. And then Matthew 12:34. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What's your heart position? How do you feel about your players? Are you loving your players? Because how you feel about them, what's in your heart comes out when you're coaching. Are you coaching out of fear and anger and frustration, or out of grace and understanding? Like Robyn was talking about, understanding what it takes to compete at a high level and under pressure. Are you coaching from that perspective and building up your players to handle that pressure? Last week we heard from Coach Jacobs, and he said to his coaches, tell me what they can do. Oftentimes I think we are critical. I know I look back, I was like, I would pick out everything that a kid can't do right. And it was like, oh my gosh, what can they do right? Build a guy up. Here's what he said, build a guy up and things they are great at happen more often. So we need to all work at building up those players, building them up. And I'm going to kind of wrap up with this. In coaching, the 18 inches, we know what the 18 inches refers to, right? Going from that assistant coach position to the head coach position, and what a difference going for that 18 inches makes, right? From the knowledge, the pressure, everything that you need to do, that everything that changes to go from one seat to the other. I'm going to flip that. Priscilla Shire, I heard last week, rethink this 18 inches. She said the 18 inches from your head to your heart are what's most important. And then down to your feet, walking out the love of Jesus with others. So what you learn, 18 inches in your brain, you need to convert that into your heart and now walk it out with your team. So I told you I'm going to give you a quick drill on how to teach to receive a compliment. It's called thank ball. You could call it gratitude ball, compliments, encouragement. So you get in a circle, and the passer is going to make a pass to someone. And in that pass, they're going to, if it's gratitude day, they're going to say something they're thankful for, and the receiver is going to receive it. But more importantly, if it's a compliment, they're going to compliment a player on what they did today and what they saw in their teammate. And that teammate, most importantly, is going to say, thank you, I received that. They need to receive it. And we need to verbally do those things, and we need to teach those players, and they can take that with them, because many grown adults don't know how to receive compliments. So let's teach them young. Coaches, you're awesome, and we love you, and continue to do the good work you're doing. God bless you.